Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Tang. IATA Senior Manager, Cargo Operations and E-Commerce, and I'm the moderator for the webinar today. So let's wait for 2 more minutes and let more audience come in, and we will start our webinar soon. Thank you. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening again. Welcome to the IATA UPU ICAO Webinar 2025. My name is Matthew Tang, Senior Manager, Cargo Operations and E-Commerce from IATA. And I'm also the moderator of the webinar today. So let's get started for the webinar today. The main theme today is strengthening global partnerships. And I will do the opening. After the opening, I will also hand over to my colleague from UPU to say some word before we proceed to the webinar. But let's treat this webinar as a flight, 1 hour, 30 minutes flight. We treat safety our first priority. So before we take off, we need to have some in-house rules for this webinar. Only speakers will speak during the webinar and all the participants will be muted. And also you will see we have a Q&A box. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please write your questions in the Q&A box, but not the chat box. And we will follow up throughout the webinar and we will try our best to answer your question. Even though we are not able to answer, maybe at the end of the webinar, there are so many questions, no problem. We will send our answers to you individually after the webinar. So we will follow up, so no worry. And the third point is that there will be a survey link we will share to all the participants in this webinar after the webinar, and then you will receive this questionnaire, and please give me your feedback, and your feedback is very important for us to decide what's next for the webinar. And all the presentation materials and video recording will be uploaded to IATA, UPU, and also ICAO webpage after the webinar. So in case you need to leave in the middle of the webinar, you can still able to find all the materials and all the video recording. So no worries. The final thing that's very important is the competition law guidelines. So in this webinar, this is also governed by our IATA competition law guidance that all this business sensitive information we are not allowed to discuss price negotiations, and all the sensitive topics which is not allowed to be included in this webinar. So this is just for your reference in for our competition law guidelines. So here is the agenda for today. So this is a joint webinar, the second one. This time IATA, we are the host for this webinar. And we had the first one in May, hosted by UPU, and we have ICAO on board, and then 3 organizations we are holding this webinar. I think this will be the trend for coming future. So this is the second one. We have 3 organizations having this joint webinar. So that's why you will see we try to divide this webinar into 3 sections. So after the opening, we will have the postal and customs representative to share. So how do we collaborate and how do we strengthen the global partnership in the AML industry? And after that, we would like to hear some stories and experience sharing from our IATA AML board members. So we have Qatar and KLM. And the last section will be, we have ICAO and also one airline, Cargolux, to talk about the cooperation between relevant authorities and industry. And then we will have some time in case there are some questions which we would like to share to the whole group. We will use the time remaining to do the Q&A section. So speakers, we are happy to have UPU colleague Jan with me to be joint moderator. And we have Clavier from UPU. Also, we have Carlos from Brazilian Post. We have Bat from Mongolian Customs. We have Sharon from Qatar Airways. And we have Bernard from KLM, Sonia from ICAO, and also Yves from Cargolux. Before I hand over to the first speaker from UPU Clavier, I would like to hand over to my colleague Jan from UPU to also say something before we start the webinar. Over to you, Jan.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor, Matthew. I will not be moderator, as you mentioned. I will just support you, and I'd like to, on behalf of UPU, to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be, and say that it's a great pleasure to welcome you to this, as Matt already mentioned, joint webinar, join now not only IATA UPU, but also ICAO the second time. And I hope that I'm happy to see that our webinars has grown during the last 4 years into a vibrant and recognized platform for sharing knowledges, for strengthening partnership and addressing real operational challenges in the postal and air transport supply chain. It's encouraging to see that each edition has brought together hundreds of professionals from designated operators, airlines, customs, civil aviation authorities, or IT providers, or maybe law enforcement bodies. We have received many positive feedbacks how it significantly helped to post, especially and carriers, to meet latest regulatory challenges like ICS2 or STOPAC, or operational challenges. I would like just to remind how we managed jointly a first shock from the US executive order and on the minimis just a few weeks ago. So definitely it helped a lot. Together, we represent maybe different parts of the supply chain, but we are united by a common purpose to ensure keeping mail flow safely, securely, reliably across the borders, in line with the global standards and latest more and more challenging regulations or growing customer expectations. So I don't want to speak too much. We have a lot of speakers. So thank you very much once again for joining us and for your continuing commitment to cooperation and progress, and wish, of course, fruitful and engaging session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. So let's get started for the first section, Postal and Customs Perspective. We will have 3 speakers in this section. First, we will have Clavier, and then we will follow by the Brazilian Post, Carlos, and then we have Bat from Mongolian Customs. Now over to you, Clavier.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So my name is Javier Garcia. I'm Customs Facilitation and Standards Program Manager at the UPU. And I'm going to give you a brief presentation on the UPU and the work we are doing with the World Customs Organization and how we are assisting member countries and the designated operators better work together with customs. I don't know if you have my presentation there or if I should share it.
I have your presentation, so just let me know if you want to switch to the next slide.
Next slide, please. So yes, basically just a few words on the UPU. The Universal Postal Union is the primary forum for cooperation among postal sector stakeholders. We were founded over 150 years ago in Bern. That's where we are based out of. We are a specialized United Nations agency and provide a framework, namely the UPU Convention and its regulations, and under which international postal exchanges happen. We serve as a cooperation forum, also assist member countries and their designated operators in product development, providing technical assistance. We also have a lot of activities in the area of standardization, where we provide standards, both technical and messaging standards, to facilitate international postal exchanges. And then, of course, there are other dimensions such as trade facilitation that is supported via the International Postal Network, and also a focus on sustainable development. In the next slide, we will be showing some work we are doing in collaboration with customs, namely with the World Customs Organization. We established together a contact committee in 1964, and we're now on our 45th contact committee meeting that took place a couple of weeks ago in Bern. We have shared objectives to facilitate and secure the global postal supply chain, support compliant and efficient cross-border e-commerce, align regulatory and operational requirements, both for posts and customs. There are many topics that we are currently discussing related to electronic advanced data, HS codes, tariff codes, providing the country of origin, a lot of matters that relate to facilitating this cooperation and the mission of each organization. We also work together, providing operational and technical support to our members. So the WCO member customs administrations and the UPU member countries, harmonizing standards and regulations, providing frameworks for member countries to be able to evolve their own regulations and readiness as well, as it's, for instance, the case of the WCO instruments and tools, or on the UPU side, our regulations and solutions. Jointly with the WCO, we also provide capacity building, and we try to have a focus on regional engagement. We will show a bit more about that in the next slide. And we also look at tackling the issue of joint risk management, safety and security tools and initiatives that we look at together. And some examples of that are, for instance, the mail channel project that we are working together on jointly, not only with the World Customs Organization, but also with the International Narcotics Control Board, INCB. It's a project to try to improve the detection of synthetic drugs in the global supply chain. We also provide joint capacity building. In 2025, we had venues in Europe and the CIS region. We also had in Argentina for the Latin American region. These workshops were aimed at enhancing and improving security and safety in the postal supply chain, identifying challenges and opportunities, and then, of course, providing joint training on instruments and tools that sometimes we share, like the joint WCO UPU guidelines. And in other cases, we acknowledge each other's the value of, for instance, the WCO SAFE framework, or the UPU S58, S59 standards that I will be talking about shortly. Another example of a cooperation project is African Star, aimed at identifying sources of falsified, substandard, and otherwise illicitly manufactured pharmaceuticals bound for East Africa. And this is a multi-partner project. But anyway, we don't have the time today to go into the detail of all these initiatives. Now moving on to the next slide. So here we see for definition or overview, if you will, of the S58, S59 standards. S58 is a standard that was defined to provide a means for designated postal operator to build general security measures or develop general security measures for their postal infrastructure. And S59 focuses on Office of Exchange and international airmail supply chain security. So S59 is the standard that might be more relevant for our audience today, but they are both aimed at improving overall security. So S59 focuses on the general physical custody of international airmail, identifying which items may be exempt from types of screening, what other items need to be screened in what ways, high-risk items, screening procedures for mail bags and receptacles, alarm resolution procedures, and how to identify maybe and deal with suspicious items, as well as measures for mail accepted for carriage on commercial aircraft. Now, moving on, we would like to provide a bit of an overview on the S58, S59 standard implementation. The last few years have been very productive, very fruitful in terms of adoption of these UPU security standards by mostly designated operators of UPU member countries. We have different levels of security certification. Gold if the facilities of the designated postal operator meet the highest level of criteria. Silver if there are certain elements that could be improved, and bronze it's where the minimum requirements are met, but there's still some work to do to reach the higher levels of security certification. Then there's also the possibility of applying for equivalency certification. We can see this, for instance, for designated operators that have implemented authorized economic operator programs with their customs. So customs have their compliance programs, including security, and many designated operators are compliant with these programs. They have received certification from their customs, and based on a common set of criteria, equivalency certification can be granted. Now I'd like to provide a final example in the next slide of our efforts in the areas of security and safety. And this is the dangerous goods search tool that is currently being tested. It's being tested by a number of member countries, their designated operators, and some other stakeholders. The goal of this tool is to identify and support intercepting dangerous goods in the global postal supply chain. The way this tool works is basically by relying on the electronic data interchange messages, or the data that the designated postal operators are exchanging normally. So in some cases it's track and trace events, in other cases the whole customs declaration data. So some analysis is conducted. For instance, a certain element was intercepted by a customs in a member country, and then that shares common patterns with other items that might be circulating in the postal network, and then it's possible to run analytics and identify potentially dangerous items in the global postal supply chain. There are also plans to integrate this tool with national customs and security databases, as well as with other partners. At the UN organization level, and so we have we're looking at options at integrating with databases from other international and UN organizations like UNODC or INCB, to be able to better detect these items and be more efficient at assisting our members in removing these items from the international postal network. The tool works with an artificial intelligence engine that analyzes all this data and makes prediction scores, but it has many modalities that unfortunately today we don't have the time to review. But it is an example of one of the initiatives, a specific example of one of the technical tools that is available for our members to try to improve security and safety in the international postal network. With this, I'm going to thank you for your time today. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions in relation to the work we're doing with customs, regardless of whether it's in the areas of safety and security or in any other areas of interest that you may have. Don't hesitate to write to us to customs@upu.int for this purpose. Thank you very much, Matthew. I wish you a successful continuation of the webinar. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Javier. So very precise and concise presentation, and get to the point about the safety and security perspective from UPU and customs thing. So now let's move on to the second speaker, Carlos from Brazilian Post. And yeah, over to you, Carlos.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank IATA and UPU for the invitation to participate in this event, and also want to thank our security division for their daily commitment and outstanding work. My name is Carlos Lontra, and I'm an engineer with 14 years of experience in EAD and supply chain projects in Brazilian Post, and I'm also the co-chair of the regional group from PUASP, Postal and Customs. My objective today is to present an overview of the principles and authorities responsible for civil aviation security. As you can see in this slide, we have our security objectives, and civil aviation security aims to prevent acts of unlawful interference and to protect passengers, crew members, aircraft, and cargo. Next slide, please. In this context, our regulatory framework is based on two primary instruments: ICAO Annex 17, which established a standard and recommended practice designed to protect civil aviation from unlawful acts, and National Civil Aviation Security Program, we say PNFSEC. Regarding protecting people and property, the objective is to safeguard passengers, crew members, employees, and airport facilities. When we address prevent threats, the focus is on preventing hijacking, hostage situations, and the introduction of weapons or hazardous material into the aviation system. Under access control, the requirements to restrict entry to sensitive areas exclusively to authorized personnel. In terms of inspection and screening procedures, is ensured that passengers, crew, baggage, cargo, and vehicles are screened to detect and remove prohibited items. Finally, with operational safety, key actions include reducing accidents and incidents to improve safety performance, monitoring risks, to identify systemic deficiencies, and preparing emergency response plans aimed at saving lives and minimizing damage. Next slide, please. Air cargo transportation security involves a specific process that are designed not only for the inspection and storage of a cargo, but also for its safe transportation throughout the supply chain. In terms of security measures, these include cargo inspection, verification of documentation, automated screening, and access control to ensure that only authorized personnel can interact with sensitive areas. This is the picture of our office exchange in São Paulo. Next slide, please. To support the security process, several technologies are used, such as X-ray systems, canine detection teams, advanced scanning equipment, risk analysis tools, and real-time monitoring systems, all working together to improve our safety and efficiency. In addition, security cargo depends on the involvement of registered shippers, freight forwards, and carriers certificated by our Brazilian Civil Aviation Agency, called ANAC, ensuring that all partners meet the regulatory standards required for safe and compliant cargo movement. Next slide, please. In terms of our national postal security structure, we operate a comprehensive and fully integrated work that supports both safety and compliance across the entire mail flow. To illustrate our capacity, we have 4 international operational centers which handle all inbound and outbound international mail processing. Additionally, 36 national operational centers ensure standardized operational procedures across the country. Furthermore, our security infrastructure includes 205 X-ray machines enabling consistent non-invasive inspection of postal items. Supporting this operation, we count on 860 trained operators specialized in non-invasive inspections equipment. Alongside the 350 postal inspectors work daily to enforce compliance and investigate irregularities. Importantly, 100% of our operational centers are equipped with full access control and ensuring that only authorized personnel can enter restricted areas. And finally, 100% of postal agencies, operational centers, cargo terminals, and delivery centers are equipped with CCTV monitoring, providing continuous surveillance and reinforcing the integrity of the mail supply chain. Next slide, please. Now, under requirement of a Brazilian Civil Aviation Regulation 108 Amendment 7, cargo or mail is classified as known when it has been subjected to appropriate security controls. These controls may result either from a direct security inspection from its origin within a recognized, accredited, or otherwise authorized entirely. In other words, cargo is considered secure not only when it undergoes screening, but also when it's handled by organizations that apply preventive security procedures approved by the aviation authority. And accredited shipper refers to a legal entity responsible for shipping cargo that implements security controls approved by an accredited air freight agent, ensuring that all parcels, cargo, and mail complying with the required security standards. This means that shipper plays an essential role in maintaining the integrity of the security supply chain. Next slide, please. So with this document, we have 3 articles, and let's highlight the Article 3 that consists that Correios or Brazilian Post must promptly notify our Civil National Agency, ANAC, for any structural or procedural change that could potentially impact the security of their cargo and international mail dispatch process. Perhaps here, I think it's a good point to highlight that here our UPU security certification process S58, S59 for equivalence began, a process that we are currently renewing and expanding to plus level to all of the exchange in the country. Next slide, please. One very important point is the cooperation with other bodies. When we look at cooperation with other institutions, it's important to highlight that Correios works through several formal cooperation instruments, which strengthen our enforcement capacity and improve the security of the postal and cargo chain. First, Correios maintains agreements, memoranda of understanding, and joint operation frameworks with federal police and customs. These instruments support activities such as inspection, seizure of illicit items, and joint investigative actions. Furthermore, between 2023 and 2024, we significantly expanded cooperation with state-level public security authorities, includes states such as Piauí and Ceará. These partnerships aim to enhance information exchange and strengthen our ability to combat illicit postal flows and more effectively. In addition, we have all documented regulatory cooperation with Brazilian Health Regulatory Agency, Anvisa, and the Minister NAPA, which covers shipments subject to sanitary and agro-sanitary restrictions. This includes formal authorizations, coordinated oversight, and joint control measures to ensure compliance with health and agricultural regulation. Next slide, please. In this, as a more example with multi-agency cooperation in the postal supply chain, in this slide I'd like to highlight how multi-agency coordinated strengths with the postal area in the supply chain, especially through our integrated operation model in offset chain in Curitiba. Next slide, please. To conclude, it's important to highlight that effective international mail operations rely heavily and joint action among post operators, custom authorities, regulatory bodies, law enforcement agencies, and aviation partners. Only through coordinated efforts can the supply chain remain secure and efficient. Furthermore, Brazilian Post provides a strong example of successful multi-agency cooperation, as formal agreements and parallel inspection procedures have constantly enhanced compliance, strengthened security measures, and improved overall operational performance. In addition, advanced electronic data plays a critical role, since the timely exchange of EDI information enables more effectively targeted, supports risk-based inspections, and significantly accelerates the clearance process. Finally, strict adherence to dangerous goods, sanitary, and agro-sanitary regulation is essential, because maintaining full compliance not only protects infrastructure, but also ensures the safety of passengers, crew, and everyone involved in the air transport postal ecosystem. Next slide, please. I think it's the last one. So, and with that, I conclude my presentation. Once again, I'd like to express my appreciation for the commitment and hard work of our operational and security teams, as well for the opportunity to participate in this event. Thank you very much, and I remain at our disposal for anything you may need. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. So I like the last slide you mentioned about the takeaway for all the participants in this webinar. Is very, very relevant, and because we are also going to talk about this from the carrier perspective in the next section. But before we move to the carrier perspective, we have the last speaker for this section, Bet from Mongolian Customs. So over to you, Bet.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share our Mongolian customs experience. I would like to have a short presentation about our experiences combating with illicit drug abuse trafficking. Next slide, please. So Mongolia is the country that is the landlocked country, borders with Russia and China, and compared to the other countries, Mongolian trade flow is very small. So it's because of due to our population and the geographical condition. So our government is doing every effort to combat with drug trafficking. So Mongolia is the country that fully committed to the all three conventions, like single convention on narcotic drugs and convention on psychotropic substances, and the United Nations Convention against illicit traffic in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. So we have also adopted the law against drug trafficking, and our government also adopted a national action plan in 2017. So this enables us to fight with other with the illicit drug flow. Next slide, please. So The WCO also are helping the member countries. So as a member country, Mongolia has received valuable recommendations and guidance provided by WCO, and there was a project, that synthetic drugs detection project by WCO and UPU. So there was also a scoping mission in Mongolia that was conducted in 2024 from 5th to 9th August. And this also has played a crucial role in helping us to make meaningful progress in the fight against drug abuse and illicit trafficking. So Mongolian Customs also adopted a joint action plan with other enforcement organizations like Central Intelligence Agency and the Police Department. So also our main instrument is that we have a trilateral memorandum of understanding established in this year, 10th of March. We have adopted this MOU. So to combat with prevent smuggling of prohibited and restricted items using the mail channel, International Postal Services. Next slide, please. So these organizations like our national designated postal operator, Mongol Shotam, Mongol Post, and the police department and customs, we have a very close cooperation. So information sharing and assisting each other and helping with the helping others to do their duties. And this allows us to to have a close collaboration between these organizations. Next slide, please. So our drug seizure cases are increasing. So this year, compared to the previous years, there is a progress in our seizure cases. So so far, we have 18 cases. So next slide, please. So our drug seizure cases is very not in much in quantity because of the the population and the flow of goods crossing the border. So these years, our main seizure is we have seized 1.5 kilogram ice methamphetamine in 9th of June 2025. So these are the cases that we have mostly synthetic drugs and THCs and methamphetamine. And so this is our main seizures we have seized. Next slide, please. So Mongolian customs strategies are we have to have a risk analysis that we have to have a passenger surveillance and screening techniques to have a proper risk management, and we also have advanced screening equipment, X-ray scanners for screening items crossing the land border. And also the main, our goal is to have a air cargo and mail center compliance, that we should have appropriate customs control area organization and pre-arrival information of these mail items. So this makes us to have a prior risk management before the arrival of the goods in customs control area. Next slide, please. So our organization has a targeting center which enables us to monitor the illicit flow of goods. So also we have a canine services and a customs laboratory. So these are our control facilities that are helping us to have a risk-based customs control. Next slide, please. So we have regular basis. We have a training of customs officials, and we also have a timely alerts on recent seizures of drugs, and we also have a Facebook group that we are sharing information with other organizations and the public. Also, we have guidelines for proper use of tools and instruments like target ID, our the drug testing equipment, and also we have virtual reality training centers, and we also have video training models. Next slide, please. The Mongolian Customs developed and distributed educational materials, videos and alerts and awareness campaigns, and preventing measures related to the drug offenses. So these are our main activities that are being done in the recent years. Next slide, please. So according to the WCO and UPU Corporation, as a customs member country, Mongolian Customs are also making a collaboration with our national designated postal operator, Mongol Post, and we have timely basis. Regularly, we have meetings and assist each other, and information sharing, cooperation, and knowledge sharing. So these are our close cooperation. So thanks to the WCO and UPU Corporation, we have valuable recommendations by these international organizations helping us to fight against illicit drug trafficking. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for sharing. And you also share with us very impressive information. We didn't have this one in previous webinar. So once again, thanks for your contribution and sharing. So we finished having the story and experience from the postal and customs perspective. And now we switch to the carriers. But before we start the carrier's perspective, we also know that basically, no matter who you are, postal operators, customs, or airlines, or regulators, we need the information to do risk assessment in order to make the supply chain safe. So in the following session, we will try to use data, information, accuracy, transparency to be the theme examples to link up with the global partnership in this webinar. So may I invite two AML board members, Bernard from KLM and also Sharon from Qatar Airways, to join us for a mini version for discussion in the next section. First of all, I would like to introduce Bernard first. Bernard, could you please do a very quick introduction about yourself, and then Sharon?
Okay, thank you, Matt. My name is Bernard Heusveld, and I'm a program manager by KLM Cargo. And my roles are currently a member of the Airmail Board as a vice chairperson. Apart from that, I'm also a product owner for shipment compliance for Air France and KL. And I'm a member of the IATA Cargo Messaging Working Group. And I'm working from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport.
Thank you. And Sharon?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Rodrigo, and I'm the Mail and Product Development Manager at Qatar Airways Cargo, where I'm responsible to overseeing the commercial and operational development for the mail product at QR. And I also serve on the Airmail board with Bernard as a member, and have been a part of the team for the last 2 years. The Airmail board has actually opened up quite a bit of opportunity for learning and collaboration for me as well, and I'm very thankful to be given the opportunity to share my insights with you all today.
Thank you both. So let's get started. I will start with this slide. These are all the operational risk symbol we are using in the IATA cargo handling manual to show actually in the supply chain, no matter which is cargo or mail, there are always operational risk. And we identify the symbol to represent maybe the risk related to safety, risk related to security, customs, service failure. And why I would like to start with this one with two of you, because in the previous section, we have data, advanced data. And as a carrier, I know that we are very cautious about how we get the information and then how we process the information to customs or your customers, cargo freight forwarders or mail postal operators. So let's start with how data accuracy related to risk assessment in your story. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points prepared by Bernard. Maybe Bernard, could you help to elaborate what are they and what are the message you want to deliver today?
Okay, thanks, Matt. And it is, of course, data accuracy. It's not about the data itself, but also how it's propagated through the consignment journey, going via various stakeholders, including all the handovers. So it's not the data by itself, but also how it interacts between the stakeholders. I think this is an important point. And looking at the risk assessment that we need to do, obviously we are a carrier. We bring cargo, mail, passengers into a country. And obviously the adherence to regulation is very much needed. We see that the border control agencies are becoming more and more stricter in order to get to safeguard their controls for imports and exports. And that to screen against their references, obviously they have references where they give a sort of go ahead or an approval, or let's say an assessment complete to say from, hey, you can bring that into our country. That's becoming more and more strict. And we see that it is, a growing number of regulators, countries are just expanding on that. And obviously inaccurate or incomplete data can lead to the fines and delays, and also the refusal of consignments. And another point is that the border agencies hold the carriers responsible for carrying those consignments into their countries, and the carriers are then liable for fines or worse. If you look at the efficiency, it's with efficient data, the handover into the next link in the supply chain keeps the consignments moving. Less mistakes means less time lost by contracting sources of data to rectify. Obviously, it's the source of the data, and that could be the customer's customer, whatever you want to call it, but that's where the source is, and it would be very helpful if they can start giving us entering that their consignment with the correct data into the supply chain. Obviously, safety is also a very important part because it is essential for staff, passengers, equipment, and cargo, obviously, and the shipments itself. So incorrect or incomplete data can lead to dangerous situations. For customer satisfaction is that we see that a lot of data will be seen to as a way of, if the customer knows where its shipment is, if it knows the data is there, the shipment or consignment will fly smoothly and will be delivered on time. So that helps the customer. On the tracking and traceability, obviously, more and more everybody wants to know where everything is. And that with data, it's much better regulated. And that means also not only the data that the shipper sends, but also the data that says, hey, your shipment is now there and the other place, and it's going into a handover to another partner. Obviously, financials is also important, because if it's very clear, then invoices, surcharges, and claims are preventable. One point is also the assessment complete. I mentioned that a little earlier. A number of countries require filing for consignment before loading it. We call that PLACI or EAE. And that means that before a shipment goes towards a certain regulator or country, that means that the country should give permission to load it for that country. And of course, for us carriers, that's important to know that it happened. And also, as I mentioned before, it's not only the data, but also how you interact with the data. That is important that we have that information. And lastly, digitization and automation is extremely important. So that is fundamental. And automated systems can only perform well with the complete data and correct data, so they can make the right decisions based on the customer requirements. And that's in short, a number of these are obviously open goals, but it's always good to go back to the basics. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. But do you have any experience or challenges that really you would like to share with us when you do the risk assessment, when you don't have enough information or data? Anything you can share according to your experience?
Yes, obviously, now talking about airmail, obviously in the past centuries we sent a lot of letters, but these days, like 95+% is about e-commerce, and a lot of goods are sent via mail, because the mail at origin have a very good network in order to get the stuff to the post, and the destination country has a very good post to have the last mile to deliver it. So it's a very efficient route. But we have seen that some products are very, could be dangerous. Look at one of the cases that we had is we intercepted a mail shipment with a heavy power tool from a certain country, where the lithium-ion battery was loaded for more than 75%. And that is a risk. And that is, I'm glad we found that, because if it falls or it is damaged, then we will have a problem. And that is one of the cases that I want to mention here.
Thank you. So, and I would also like to ask Sharon for something similar. So, Sharon, do you have any supplement view regarding the risk assessment, just like what Bernard already shared? Do you have any supplement information you want to say? You are mute.
Sorry, definitely I do. Because lately with what Bernard just said, with a lot of ELI and ELM being transported in the network, and we do have very limited information as a carrier that is being shared with us. So not having visibility and having those kind of items getting triggered or flagged at acceptance, or having those items checked at security, creates quite a bit of complication. Some of the times we've seen them already being carried on like at least one leg of our network and then stuck here at hub, in my case in Doha, and creating a lot of issues for us as a carrier in order with regulatory compliance with local authorities, because some of these items cannot be transported on our networks, and then also creating risks for our aircrafts and passengers as well. So those are some of the things that had been of concern. So yeah, it is important that these kind of information is shared with carriers.
Thank you. Thank you. So can I say that one of the possible mitigation will be collaboration? So, right, because you are not the data owner, right? You, as a carrier, you receive the information and then you come across your system intelligent and also compliance, and you need help. And collaboration maybe is the keyword to speak for today's webinar, say strengthening global partnership. Now, talking about collaboration, I know, Sharon, you are very kind to prepare us 6 bullet points, and I would like to give you the floor, and then after, maybe you start with your collaboration, and then we can start with some discussion. Over to you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, and definitely. So I'll try to build on what Bernard spoke about with the importance of the accuracy of data, and I'll focus on my part of the presentation in terms of how high quality data and transparency can contribute towards a stronger partnership between the carriers and the postal authorities. When you look at the points that I've shared with you, the first point is high quality data drives seamless operation coordination. So when the data we receive from the origin post is accurate, complete, and flows consistently through every stage of the network, it ensures that everyone involved, from the ground handling team or the team in transit, to be aligned. This basically removes misunderstanding and allows us to plan realistically for uplift, capacity, and routing. My second point talks about good data enhanced predictability. For us as a carrier, we rely heavily on volume forecasting and shipment profiles. So when information is reliable, we can allocate resource ahead of time, preventing downstream disruptions. For example, if additional security checks or screening is required, those kind of resources can be allocated on a timely manner and helping us to have the shipment move more robustly across the network. Because this stops from every stakeholder getting impacted and avoids late acceptance and unexpected SSR requirements, last minute offload, those kind of things can be avoided and also add to the workload that people at the airline would have to deal with, and also impacts negatively on our performance if incorrect data or adequate data has not been provided to us. Data quality also strengthens trust. One of the pillars of strong partnership is transparency. So when the data we receive is the foundation of transparency and the consistently receiving the correct data, for example, proper CN details or even accurate assessment complete information, reduces the need for us as a carrier to go back to the post to investigate and clarify information, as well as helps us with further filing of that information with regulatory authorities. This speeds us and helps us to work on more collaboration than having to correct items and rectify issues. Another important point that I'd like to highlight is data-driven decision making. In our industry, especially when it comes to mail, irregularities in operations are inevitable. But when the data is clean and propagated from end to end, both hosts as well as the carriers can make quick decisions, informed decisions together, especially during times of disruption, cancellation, and as of right now, because everyone's dealing with peak, when the times are critical and the space is limited, these proper information helps us to plan accordingly. Next point is compliance. It is literally the responsibility of everybody involved in the supply chains, from the post to the carrier, to be responsible for the regulatory requirements that has been dictated by any given country. So accurate declaration helps us in that process. Missing or inconsistent information increases the risk, not just for us, but all parties involved. So quality data helps each of the partners, especially us as the carrier, to perform risk assessment without any delays. Finally, strong data enables innovation. Automation and API integration can be facilitated, and future enhancements digitally as well can be succeeded if the underlying data available to us is reliable. So high quality of data is not just an operational requirement, but it also has a very strong hand in strategic development, especially for a product like mail. It opens up doors for all parties to enhance our digital capabilities as well as support us with our efficiencies. Um, so I'd like to conclude my presentation by saying data quality supports compliance and it directly strengthens the way we work together. It creates predictability, trust, and efficiency, which in my opinion is the foundation of a true strong partnership that could be between the post and the carriers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. So you mentioned trust in your slide, and also you talk about trust also strengthen the partnership. Do you have any, also Bernard as well, maybe I would like to ask you too. Do you have any happy story, sad story that you could share with us, that and how you collaborate with your business partners and the trust? How do you have any story to share with us? Sharon first or Bernard first? Please go for it.
Bernard, if you do want to go first, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I can absolutely tell you a success story because we talk here about the airmail, and we are working very close together with the UPU and other parties in the chain like IPC and the carriers in order to optimize the processes on all kinds, from compliance to better processes to better data and stuff like that. So enhancing a seamless operational journey of that consignment. So the collaboration is really improving. And yeah, the more, the merrier on the world organizations attached to it, because we all want the same thing, basically.
Just to add on to that, yes, trust is a very important aspect, especially in terms of collaboration, because if you don't trust your partners, it's actually very hard to work together. So we attempt quite a bit to work on trust. And as an airline, I'd share a success story on our end where we had provided our customers with an extra level of transparency. We as airlines quite focus on being EDI enabled for the postal authority so that we can share our information and actual statuses of their shipment. And on top of that, we had at Qatar Airways, we've also allowed our postal authorities to be able to track their mail shipments on our website, where they're able to have transparency with live data and know the status of their shipments. So that's something that we share with our customers so that they can follow their shipments and know, which build a level of trust between the posts because of the level of transparency that we share with them. So anything that happens to their shipment, they could track on our site and have that information readily available to them.
Yeah, and I would also add that trust, okay, takes time. Okay, the consistency of the behavior can help building up trust, not only from our customers, but also as a carrier, how we react to our customers is also a kind of behavior to reflect whether the customer will trust this carrier. On-time performance, efficiency, reduce waste, etc. And now I have a very interesting question from the floor. Is addressed to both of you, so I cannot wait until the end of the webinar. But I think you already covered some of the points. It's talking about the dangerous goods, transportation of dangerous goods in mail. So the question is, what do you think about how can the carriers and postal operators can work more closely together to improve the safe handling, monitoring of transporting dangerous goods? Who you would like to start first?
Sharon, please go ahead.
It's basically very simple in my opinion. I believe a lot of carriers do have quite a bit of expertise within their teams that can support with dangerous good transportation. And we've also made quite a bit of allowances in terms of ELI and ELM getting accepted on carriers. Not just the airline I work for, but many airlines do that. So what would be great for us is to have the visibility or that information from the post to let us know that a particular mail bag or a parcel contains ELI, ELM, or DG, so that we have that level of visibility, because there is a certain lack of visibility when it comes to a mail bag for a carrier because we do not know what the content of it is, but we believe the posts do. And if we are able to have a little bit of an indication this particular mail bag does have a certain amount of DG in it, a little bit more information on it, that does help. That information helps us plan the units on safe equipment onwards as well. So those kind of things does help us as an airline.
Yes, and I agree with Sharon that it is very important. We as carriers would like to know what we fly, because when we know what to fly, then we know that we do the right things. Either by if we accept it, it is good. And yes, have the information available to us so that we know that, like Sharon mentioned, that maybe certain commodities need to be on certain places on an aircraft. So we know beforehand. Also, planning-wise, it makes it better, and the seamlessness of the journey of the consignment will be then much smoother and more on time.
Good. So, cautious about the time. We need to, even though I would like to carry on the discussion with you too, but we can do it in the AML board meeting for sure. But for today, the webinar, we can't. So one final question to both of you. Now, if you are Harry Potter, you have a magic wand. And now we are in the webinar. We have more than 200 participants from Post, Customs, and Airlines now in the room. So if you can make a wish, what do you want to say to conclude for our discussion for this section? I will go for Sharon first, and then Bernard, you can do the conclusion.
In my part, if I did have a magic wand, what I would like is availability or visibility to more information in terms of the mailbag, like I mentioned earlier when I gave the answer as well, because this has been a point of discussion in the past, even at the AirMail board meetings, to have more visibility on the content of the mailbag, which helps us plan and have more information and take precautions as well as do whatever is required in terms of the regulatory front as well. So that is ideally one of my wishes. And the other one is potentially maybe having joint SOPs or joint training programs with the post and the carriers so that we can learn from each other as well as have or use the best practices from each party to improve the overall process for the postal world, literally.
Thank you. Bernard.
Well, yeah, it's always a difficult one. I already have the glasses. I do not have the wand yet, but if I had a magic wand, I would go for one worldwide standard for data content, so that everybody knows you have a fixed set of data that is, and whatever the parties do with it, they do with it, but at least we have one set of data to work from, so we always know that we have the correct information. And now today it's about optionality and mandatory and all that stuff. So get away with it and get one set of standard data content for the whole world. But you need the wand first, right?
Yeah, thank you. So, so on behalf of IATA, I also need to advocate for the one record, the data sharing standard, right? If everyone, the data is owned by the owner, and then share the data with a appropriate, secure authority access control, then it is the kind of data sharing standard moving to the future. So, if I may, I would like to mention this one as my closing remark for this section. Once again, very impressive sharing and introduction and the presentation. Also very interesting discussion. For sure, we will meet again in the next AML board so we can carry on the discussion. Once again, thank you both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we move to the last section of this webinar. Cooperation between the relevant authorities and industry. And we are happy to have Sonia from ICAO and also Yves from Cargo Lux. May I over to Sonia and Yves? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So thanks UPU, IATA, and my colleagues in ICAO. It is the second time I'm intervening in this kind of webinar, and I think I begin to be addicted. Just to warn you, it's more than 1 hour and 10 minutes that you are hearing about a certain perspective. In fact, here we are deep diving into a subsection, quite important, I would say. I would say aviation security, where we are very happy we didn't find anything. If we find something, it will be quite interesting. So with that, I forgot to present myself. So I'm Sonia Ifdi. I was appointed 3 days ago, as Deputy Director for Aviation Security, Cybersecurity and Facilitation. And as I say, I'm never allergic to cargo and mail. And today I will speak less, even if I will do an introduction, and I will give the floor to Yves. Yves, who are you?
Hello, Madame la Secrétaire. So name is Yves Mab. I'm the head of security of Carglux, so all cargo airline, no passenger, just cargo from Europe. Started my career in aviation more than 30 years ago. worked for the administration first, then for passenger, then for express for nearly 20 years, and now for the last 10 years for a pure cargo operator. I'm also, from a IATA perspective, I'm the chair of the Cargo Border Management Group, and I'm also a board member of the Security Advisory Council of IATA. Regarding the presentation and the discussions point, I'd like to ask the audience to switch a little bit their minds. We are speaking about aviation security, so it is less about compliance to customs regulation, but more about, as Bernard and Sharon mentioned, the need to know what we are moving and the risks we are trying to tackle from an aviation security perspective.
Thank you. In fact, the theme today is cooperation, and something that is not just nice to have, but it's at the core of many things we're doing every day in aviation security. At international level, there is IATA, UPU, WCO, our colleagues from airports, SCI, international agencies, our colleagues from other agencies in the UN, and security is a teamwork. Each one, we have a mandate. What we're talking here today, and mine as ICAO, in my part of ICAO, I would say it's quite clear, is protecting civil aviation for what we call act of unlawful interference. And this is why there is a very strong mandate allowing to screen, search for prohibited article in parcels, letters, all things coming into an aircraft. So it's echoing quite well the previous session where we're saying we need to know what is in an aircraft. In fact, for my part, it's just to ensure that everything is going well for the flight. So less smuggling and trafficking, more security for the flight. Since the last webinar, I'm delighted to say that we issued a joint statement with UPU on mail security, with including a roadmap to further cooperate, so deeply in the theme of what we are doing today. UPU hosted an ICAO working group also to make sure that we are aligned. And now I will deep dive into the kind of level of cooperation and what it means in the everyday work. As I'm not operational, I will ask the question to Yves. Aviation security was built as sometimes quite reactive after several incidents where some were cargo specific, and we have different time events, and there is the evolution of aviation security, and we had to learn how to coordinate between all stakeholders. You said that you are in security for the last 30 years, so it means that you were there during 9/11. There is the in cartridge plot in 2010, we have the plot in 2017, and we have the IID in 2024. What is exactly is needed in terms of cooperation?
So next slide. Yes. From the events you mentioned, I will pick up one of them, which is 2010. When it comes to collaboration, this was the best case we had in our last 30 years of history regarding aviation security and incidents relating to aviation security. It was the best case scenario. Why? Because in fact, authorities decided for once that it would be good to have all the people involved or affected by the events around the table and find solutions together. It was drifting away from the traditional approach of authorities are having an idea about how to tackle the issue and push it to the industry. Here we had everyone around the table and discussing the event and what could we do to avoid that those events are taking place again. The benefit of this approach is that, first of all, you have a lot of people which are thinking about outside of the box to find solutions. And when you're pushing the regulation or the measures to mitigate the risk, you already have the sort of agreement of the industry that this is the way we could put things in place. It is addressing the issue, and we confirm that we should be able to deploy the measures you are proposing. In 2010, there were two big axes that came out of the discussions between the authorities. Initially, it was between ICAO and IATA, so the Aviation Security Authority, and the industry. And it was the new principle or the reinforcement about the secure supply chain. The second one added a new authority. That's what I'm saying about thinking about the box, outside of the box, is that in addition to the aviation security authorities and the industry, we had customs authorities because we believed, and we still believe today, that having the right data, as my predecessor just mentioned on a previous presentation, having the right data being processed properly could add a security net to what we're doing today. So that was the best experience as I can remember, where we had a number of authorities about the table discussing the issues, finding solutions, and getting other authorities in the loop and putting things together.
As a regulator, often we may think about that time I was still at national level. In fact, it is very hard to know how to include the industry and to understand exactly outside, because the airlines are the business to do, exactly what is the added value of the airlines trying to provide airline security. So this is also something that was quite a shift in the mindset of regulators. Trying to work with customs is one for AFSEC authorities, but also on the airline security side. Can you exactly a little bit more deep dive into what is the role of airlines on that matter?
Yes. So can I have the next slide, please? So the role of the airline security is the same as other authorities, is to protect people, assets, and customer goods, and in that specific order. So the first protection is regarding the people. Even on cargo planes, you have people. You have crew members and sometimes additional people, and we have a lot of people on the ground also. So the first aim is to protect people. That's the first thing. And I have to say that through cooperations, through collaborations and discussions and webinars like this one, it allowed us also to change the mindset of a number of authorities that were thinking that the security within the airline will always try to reduce the costs or to avoid burden from an operational point of view. This is absolutely wrong. All my colleagues, which have the same function in the airlines, are fighting for the same thing. If you're telling us that there is a risk and you're telling us where it's coming from, we will put in place the measures to mitigate the risk, because we are the ones operating from different parts of the world, and we don't want to have an aircraft on the ground or an aircraft destroyed in flight. So if the proposal is effective, we have no issues to put it in place. If the proposal which is pushed by the authorities is coming on the table and it's more an administrative work than an effective security measures, then we may discuss the points and ask for some accommodation in the proposal. The role of the airline is very simple, is that, and again, Bernard and Sharon mentioned it previously, is that we want to know what is loaded on a plane. I don't want to have a parcel which is loaded on my plane where I do not have the insurance that it is secure. It is not a threat to my flight. I'm speaking here from an aviation security perspective, which is direct threat to the flight. Nothing before, nothing after the flight itself. So what we want is that 100% of the freight is secure, and we know that there is only two ways to secure it properly. It is going through a screening method, so physical screening, checking what is in the box, or the alternative is that to have a supply chain, and we can trust the person which is giving us the box. We also know that in terms of screening, there are some limitations. So that's why the secure supply chain is so critical for us.
Thank you. I think
sorry, and the last one also is that we do know that there are a number of commodities which are exempted, sometimes because of legacy regulations. Sometimes regulations were made even before aviation existed, and we're setting the scene for some exemptions. Obviously, from my perspective as head of an airline security, I don't like that. I don't like to have things where I do not know what's in the box or how it was, make sure that it was properly secured and not a threat to my flight.
In fact, I think that there is a very valid point on the fact that on the appropriate authority side for AFSEC, in fact, we have a view normally on what is happening in terms of intelligence and on the risk. And in fact, we need to pass that into measures that are operationally, or not only on measures, but also on passing the information on the risk to ensure that operators, the airlines, are conducting also their risk assessment. In terms of exemptions, in fact, we are not talking here about the kind of things we have lived during the COVID, for example, or the vaccines. We are talking about long-term exemptions that needs to be reassessed regularly on the view of the technology and on the view of the mandate and on the fact. I think this was also something that if I capture that well.
Absolutely. We don't like to add layers and layers and layers, and I think that it is good to review some measures from time to time. But clearly, the higher the visibility on what we are moving, the better it is. And again, we need 100% confidence that what we are loading on plane is secure.
During the last webinar, I had the chance trying to present also the part that is posed by improvised incendiary devices following some events that happened in 2024. Some are seeing quite a strong link with dangerous goods problem. How do you see it on the operational perspective? Same problem, different problem? What is your everyday work on this?
Yeah. Incendiary device is a hot topic since 2024, and before the events of 2024, a lot of the discussions took place regarding lithium batteries, and I will come back to the lithium batteries in particular. It is for aviation security. Aviation security is we are speaking about an intent. The intent of an individual is to take down an aircraft. If it is not falling into that category, then it is not a security issue. Security will help in identifying and can help in identifying the risk, but it is not an aviation security threat. So a fire is from a bad quality lithium battery or a damaged lithium battery is a safety issue. The part where we have cooperation, as it is the topic of the seminar, is that the technologies which are being used to identify an immediate threat to an aircraft, being an incendiary device or an explosive device, can also be used to identify other type of prohibited items. So prohibited items, so a lithium battery which is wrongly packaged, so that can be damaged during the handling process, it is a safety concern. Having low quality lithium batteries badly declared or wrongfully declared is a compliance and a customs issue. And we need to identify those, and the screening procedures or techniques we're using for aviation security could identify those ones. And I know that there's a lot of work still going on to identify that threat. Incendiary device is purely aviation security. It is clearly what we need to tackle, and what we put in place in 2010 is also applicable. Is that we need to know again from a data perspective who is the real sender. That's critical. And those data should be checked. And as soon as the sender is unknown, then in that case, the risk is higher regarding that shipment that what is declared may be wrongly declared, wishfully or not. And that in that case, we need to make sure that we have additional measures to make sure that we are not moving a threat. Just to mention that also IATA, regarding incendiary devices, published a document which is quite exhaustive on the cooperations we had between IATA and all its IATA member airlines, and proposed to a number of authorities regarding our view regarding IIDs.
And on that, we have the link with dangerous goods. Any quick word on also the link with smuggling? In fact, we had in the first session quite the presentation of designated postal operator on the work that they're doing on drug smuggling, for example. Anything taken into account on the airline security side on this topic?
It is not a priority of aviation security. Realize it is an issue. A prohibited item is always an issue, but is it a threat to the aircraft? If the answer is no, then it will not be an aviation security issue. If it is items which are being smuggled, being narcotics or other prohibited items, you need to stop them, if possible, before they are sending out. But if it is flown, it is not a threat to the aircraft, to the immediate threat to the aircraft. You can still stop it upon arrival. And in some cases, you may need to fly them and to follow them up to destination in case of investigation, for example. So to identify them and to follow them, yes, it's critical. But if it is not a threat to the aircraft, we are not in aviation security world.
So I think that the organizer of the webinar is trying to pushing you to the next slide, which is exactly what we're talking about, is trying to get to what is a secure supply chain. And in fact, Annex 17 is not separating anything in terms of cargo or mail. In fact, we have one concept. How do you assess this screening and what it fits in the secure supply chain concept? And perhaps you can click quite a lot, I think, for Matthew, I think.
Yes. Yeah, you can go to the end of the thing. So in aviation security, the secure supply chain is like you can see on my slide, or it is a supply chain where you do have information you can trust from the beginning to the end, and from the beginning it means that you are getting a shipment from a known consignor. So it's somebody which is producing goods. If it is a manufacturer and it is done in a secured environment and you can trust, because it is also checked by the authorities from a security perspective, and you're maintaining the secure supply chain from the manufacturing plant up to the airline, then it's fine. Knowing that in case you have the security chain is broken, then you have to rescreen it. The other one is that as from the moment it's coming from an unknown shipper or unknown consignor, or it was moved on unsecured transport, then in that case, at one point in time before it is reaching the aircraft, you will have to screen it through a protocol or through a methodology or through a technique, but you will have to screen it before you will be allowed to load it on the plane. When it comes to mail, I think that we are in a specific and that's embedded in the regulation, and it is what we do have in some areas of the world completely deployed. And I think it was mentioned by the Brazilian representative earlier on. Next slide.
And I think it's the next slide that you want to talk about. Yeah.
So next slide. Yes. So the thing is that in the two chain, we cannot have a postal office being considered as a non-consignor, because the post office is getting goods from somebody else. They are not producing the box or the letter. They are getting it from someone. So if, as from the moment you're getting something from someone, you do not know, or you're not sure it is secured, or you don't think that the declaration is correct, then in that case, you will need to secure it. And according to the regulations in place, as from the moment you're consolidating shipments and that you are screening the shipments, then you are falling into the category of regulated agent. That's your job, to make sure that what you're getting, if it is unsecure, you're making it secure before you're moving to the rest of the secure supply chain. And that's exactly the definition, as far as I'm concerned, from a regulated agent. And that's why if there is an alignment, and I think that this should be the outcome of this collaboration, then we should move into the direction that a post office should be a regulated agent. The benefit of that being that it is already in the regulation, but also not only in aviation security regulations, but also in customs regulation, as there is a link between a regulated agent and an authorized economic operator.
On my side, I will not conclude more than that because I'm conscious of the time. And in fact, the last sentence is quite good in terms of collaboration. So if I'm moving from the international agencies trying to go to the operations, definitely this is something that we see that even in the secure supply chain, the concept is collaboration. And Yves, any last words?
No, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the question and the thing. And I'm a strong believer that we should have people from different horizons around the table to find solutions. That's the best collaborative way you can think of.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Jan, back to you. I hope that this deep dive in aviation security was appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. So today the webinar is very fruitful discussion and presentation. For sure that all the materials, video recording will be uploaded to IATA, UPU, and also ICAO websites. And cautious of the time, we cannot proceed with the Q&A section, but no problem. We will follow up all the questions after the webinar. And don't forget that you will receive a survey link after this webinar. Please provide your feedback. And Jan, any word you want to say before we close this webinar, please.
Thank you. Very shortly, I'd like just to thanks to all speakers for their time, for their very interesting presentation. And especially what I appreciate is a little bit new model of the discussion. It's not only presentation, it was more like panel discussion managed by IATA and ICAO, and I like it. So we will, I'd like just to thank once again and encourage you, as already Matthew did, to help us with evaluation of the meeting and providing some topics which you would like to hear and to see in the next webinars. It will help us together with ICAO and IATA secretariats to prepare even better webinars in the future. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.